Gem International is a new diamond explorer in the richest diamond producing country in Africa, located next to the fourth largest producing diamond mine in the world. International Spotlight is on an 1109 carat diamond recently discovered in Africa by a fellow Canadian junior with a proven operator and finance team. Gem International trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol GI. Visit us at gemdiamondmining.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sharon Noble. She's the director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. Welcome back to the show, Sharon.
Hello, Jim. How are you?
We're doing great. People in BC right now are getting their power disconnected, and they're not getting a 30-day notice, a 10-day notice, or even a 1-day notice. What's happening to them?
Well, as I mentioned before in our last talk, I think, BC Hydro asked for changes to the tariff, the agreement that they're supposed to abide by, as are we. And in it, they said that they would no longer be giving any notice to people who were going to be disconnected, even though they could send them a letter, give them a telephone call, email them. And when I confronted them on it, they said that it's business practice. They will notify them if they can, but they don't have to. And now they are disconnecting people left, right, and center, people who still don't have smart meters. They are coming, and they aren't sending hydro people. They're contracting people who are not wearing uniforms and who are not presenting any identification. People in the Cowichan River area, in the Cobble Hill area here on Vancouver Island, in Victoria, in Mission, all over the place. I'm getting letters from people and emails and telephone calls from people who are saying that they come home from work and find their power cut. They are confronted by people they don't know at their door. They won't let them in their house, and they find those people go out and cut their power. Things like this are happening all over the place. I got an email late Tuesday evening from an elderly woman in Vancouver. Someone came to her door. She didn't know who it was. The person didn't have a uniform on. Her meter was in her house. It's in her kitchen. And she didn't want to have someone in her house that she didn't know. She refused them to enter. They refused to identify themselves. And they went out and cut her lines. She's sitting there now. She's sick. She's elderly. And she has no power. There was a fellow in Cowichan River who called me. I just spoke with him about an hour ago. His meter is in his garage. He has an analog. He's been paying the legacy fee for these 3 years. And Hydro has always arranged to have his meter read every other month. So they let him know when they're coming, and he arranges for someone to come and open the garage door. He and his wife were at work yesterday. He got home to find his meter cut. They cut his lines up at the power. And there was a message on his phone machine saying that if he wants his meter, his power re-established, he has to pay $700 in advance. This is happening all over the place. And Hydro is not even giving the people the courtesy, the warning that they're coming out to do it. And this is going to continue. The people with analogs are being treated this way right now. It's going to happen when people miss a payment, when they're a few days late. They're going to have their power cut without warning. This is kind of like thug mentality. The people that are coming out to the homes are rude, are arrogant, refuse to identify themselves. And one person here in Victoria was told when he said, I don't know who you are. I would like identification, and I would like to know that you're qualified to change my meter. And the guy said, blow off. That was his answer, and he went out and cut his lines.
Is that not trespassing? Is that not destruction of private property?
Not when it's Hydro.
But we don't know but we don't know they're Hydro. They never identified themselves.
Yes, I know. But Hydro has written in the tariff that they or their agents can do anything they want. They don't know that there aren't people in these homes who require medical equipment. They don't know that there are people there who will suffer greatly if their power is cut for one reason or another. They don't care because the tariff says that there's no way that anybody can hold hydro responsible or their agents. Jim, when there is a service agreement that is so wide open, hydro can do anything they want. And this was my reason for objecting to the BC Utilities Commission. When you put something in writing in the tariff, which is the services agreement, hydro cannot be held liable for any of these actions. What do you expect?
Sharon, can you maybe tell us about what exactly is in this proposed tariff that hasn't been approved yet by the BC Utilities Commission? What can hydro get away with?
They get away with anything. This new thing about disconnecting people without notice is new. An old portion that has been there apparently forever, but nobody ever knew about it, says in its Section 9.5 of the tariff, and if anyone wants to look it up, it says BC Hydro or its agents will not be held liable for anything that they do or any damages they cause, even if it's done through willful negligence or malfeasance. This is not new, but people should know about it. Another thing that is new is that Section 2.1 of the tariff right now says that hydro has to abide by the tariff if it does, and it will be held to account if it doesn't abide by the tariff. And there are some sections, for instance, limiting some of the things they can do. For instance, if they find that they have billed you incorrectly through an error of their own, they are only limited to 6 months right now for going back and recharging you for anything that they've missed. They have tried in the past to charge people for years going back, and people have been able to go to the tariff and say, no, you're limited to 6 months. By removing this Section 2.1 that says that hydro does not have to abide by this portion of the tariff or by any portion of the tariff, they can do anything they want.
How can hydro exempt themselves from the Criminal Code of Canada? They're just a provincial organization.
What would happen, Jim, is that people would have to sue them. And I mentioned this to you before. In Richmond, about 2 months ago, excuse me, one of BC Hydro's transformers blew up. And as a consequence, people in a nearby condo had appliances and electronics destroyed. Hydro admitted it was the transformer that did it, but they refused to accept any responsibility, and they refused to pay for any of the damages. When people complained, Hydro was allowed to respond, sue us. Now, if people had the money or could find a lawyer who would work for them on a contingency basis, they could sue Hydro. And I do believe that Hydro would be held liable. But in the tariff, it says they aren't held responsible. When I asked what other company could possibly get away with this, they said every utility company gets away with it. I don't believe this, but this is what they say. They say Fortis does it. Fortis has a similar tariff. And I checked, and it does. This doesn't make it right.
Would you say hydro is exercising Nazi-like powers?
You know, many people have told me this, and I've been told this by many people who lived in Germany and who said that these are tactics that they know all too well. It's frightening, Jim. You don't know from one day to the other if somebody's going to cut your power. Even if you've paid your bill up to date, even if you've done everything that you're supposed to do, if Hydro has made a mistake, they could cut your power. If they have overbilled you and you're arguing with them and you're not paying the entire amount, they could cut your power, and there's nothing you can do about it.
We'll have more with Sharon Noble right after the break.
I'm Larry Ray, President and CEO of American Manganese Inc., listed on the TSX Venture, ticker symbol AMY, A-M-Y, with proprietary patents in the U.S., China, and South Africa. Our focus is on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. China recently legislated the responsibility for recycling onto their electric vehicle manufacturers and importers. For more information, please visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
In Goddard we trust.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sharon Noble. Sharon, you have more about these disconnects happening with power supply with no notice, no reason sometime, by strangers who won't identify themselves. Can you tell us more?
This is happening primarily right now to people who have analog meters that are expiring. And Hydro is telling the people, your meter has to be exchanged because it's expired, and an expired meter is dangerous. This is not true. They're scaring people. An expired meter means it is only recertified because it may not be accurate anymore. Measurements Canada requires every meter, every gauge, to be recertified periodically. It has nothing to do with safety, so people should not be scared that an analog is going to burn up because it's no longer certified to be accurate by Measurements Canada. This is a scare tactic, and it's, again, one of the many lies that Hydro is telling people. And I am very concerned about the fact that Hydro has no liability whatsoever. We know this is why they were allowed to hire inexperienced, unqualified Corex people to replace the meters. And I'm concerned that they are now hiring inexperienced and perhaps unqualified people to exchange the meters again. We don't know who these people are who are coming to exchange meters. We don't know that they are truly people who are qualified to do this, and truly people who are not just strangers coming to our doors to do bad things to us. If someone who lives alone, an elderly person, or any person who lives alone, who has a stranger come to their home saying, I'm going to exchange your meter, they should be concerned, because Hydro has told us nobody should touch your meter except a qualified person who works for BC Hydro. And yet when you refuse these people access to your meter, Hydro is responding by telling them to disconnect your power.
Should you call the police because you have an unwelcome stranger in your house?
I think you probably could. And probably people should. But by the time the police get there, your power's cut and they're gone. I'm encouraging people to take their cameras, take a video camera, take a picture of these people, get a picture of their vehicle, get a picture of their license plate. Because these people, in my opinion, should not be coming unnotified, without you being told, without proper identification, and without you having every assurance that they're not going to cause problems. There are enough problems right now with meters burning. I spoke with an unidentified fire chief yesterday who told me that there are fires that are and Hydro is saying it's due to the meter not sitting properly in the meter base. This is probably true, and people are being told it's your problem because it's your meter base, when in fact the meter doesn't fit the meter base properly. Why this is happening? It may be one, the Corex worker didn't get the meter into the base properly. Two, he damaged and pulled the old meter out or jammed the new meter in, doing damage to the base. Or three, the meter, which is not certified to fit into that base, just doesn't fit right. It may be happening just like happened in Texas, that the Itron blades are too thin and are leaving gaps that cause fires. All of these types of fires will be attributed to the meter base, when in fact it is the meter or the faulty meter installation that is the problem. And in all of these instances, Hydro is going to refuse to take any liability. And the person is going to be faced with either their insurer paying the costs and your premiums being increased, or people who are unfortunate enough not to have enough insurance being left to face costs themselves. This is what the tariff is allowing to happen right now, because hydro is left with the right to say, it's not our fault, we're not responsible, even if it is our fault, we're not going to pay any claims.
Has the BC opposition party said anything about these faulty meters and these Nancy-like tactics?
No. Nothing. Not
They're in
word
favor
one.
of them?
Yep. Not word one. They've received all sorts of letters. I copy them. Many people copy them on complaints. And neither John Horgan nor Adrian Dix nor any NDP opposition member that I know of has come to anyone's rescue.
Sharon, you're also concerned about Telus installing new microwave cell towers all over the place. Can you maybe tell us about that?
Yes. It's happened so far. The ones I know about have happened in Langley, in Langford, in Colwood, in Cowichan, Chemainus, and on the west coast of Vancouver Island. They may be happening elsewhere and people don't know it because TELUS isn't telling anybody. You can go on the website where we're keeping the pictures is www.emrabc.ca. And there are photos there, and they're called microcells. TELUS isn't putting up as many cell towers as they used to because people know that cell towers are dangerous, and people fight them on it. So what they're doing now is they are putting these microcells, which are mini cell towers, mini cell transmitters, on hydro poles. And these are going on about every 100 or 200 meters. And they are being aimed directly at homes, even if the people living in those homes are not TELUS customers. And these are emitting radiation levels that scientists believe to have proven harm can be caused. DNA can be damaged, neurological damage can be caused, all sorts of harm from the level of radiation to which people are being exposed. And no one is being told. Because these are being put on existing structures, TELUS doesn't have to tell us. Industry Canada allows them to do so without telling anybody, even where there are consultation policies in place. We need to demand that Industry Canada's standards change. It was one thing to say that we wouldn't be told or the community didn't have a right to be notified when these things were being put on cell towers or on top of buildings. This was bad enough. But now when they're being put on poles, some right outside bedroom windows, just a few feet outside bedroom windows where children could be sleeping, this is very, very concerning. And we have a group of people who are attempting to get as much information about this from TELUS as they possibly can, and TELUS is being very circumspect. They are not sharing information readily. And we're getting petitions going. We're trying to get as much information out there as we possibly can because people deserve to know this.
Sharon, anything else that we should be concerned about right now?
No, but I would finish by saying if people see any activity in small boxes being put on poles outside their home, they should be very concerned that these are the TELUS microcells. That's what they look at. Jim, there are a lot of things going on right now where the Federal Minister of Health, Jane Philpott, has refused to accept the Subcommittee of Parliament's recommendations that there should be notification to the public about health problems associated with high radiation levels from cell phones, from cell towers, etc. She has overruled the fact that there are 24,000 studies saying that there's harm. She is saying there's no evidence of harm. That's not true. She is mouthing, even though she's a doctor, and she has the responsibility of Minister of Health to protect the public. She is ignoring all of these studies, and she's overruling the HESA Committee's findings.
Well, Philpott has a reputation already of ignoring scientific findings. At the meeting of Canadian health ministers, she accused the provincial health ministers of not spending the federal money earmarked for health. A quick study found that the vast majority of provinces did spend that money. This is a woman who doesn't like to look at facts.
She is under the industry's thumb, I believe. She is, whether she's supporting the pharmaceuticals or the telecommunications industry, she's a woman who is not abiding by the Liberals' promise to make science-based decisions. I voted for the Liberals. I supported the Liberals because of their promise to abide by science-based decisions. And I think many people did. They're no better than Harper's government in this regard. And we should be outraged, and we should express our outrage. This is wrong in so many regards. My primary concern, as you know, is the wireless industry and the fact that this wireless pollution, the electrosmog, is enveloping us everywhere. It's endangering our children in schools and in our homes, in workplaces and in parks. We're not being told about it. And we have a right. We had a Royal Society look at Safety Code 6 and to lie to us and say there was no sign of harm. Then we had parliamentarians re-look at the evidence. We worked hard to convince MPs in the HESA committee to re-look at evidence, and they agreed with us that there was evidence of harm. And they asked Health Canada to please do your job. Look at the principles. Consider employing the precautionary principle because there is evidence of harm. And Jane Philpott comes back and says, no, I'm overpowering. I'm overruling HESA's recommendations. She is a doctor who is like Perry Kendall, not doing her job. She is not looking at science.
Sharon, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you very much, Jim. I always appreciate the opportunity.
And what website should people check out if they're concerned about this?
In addition to the emrabc.ca, they should be looking at www.stopsmartmetersbc.com and www.citizensforsafetechnology.org.
Sharon, thanks again.
Thank you, Jim, and all the best.
My guest has been Sharon Noble, Director of the BC Coalition to Stop Smart Meters. You're listening to the Goddard Report on TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Our popular YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Questions for the show can be emailed to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.